Michael Popok, Legal AF. Donald Trump's convictions have seeped into the water supply and are now showing up in polling in which people are refusing to vote for a convicted felon, convicted of serious felonies. This is what we thought would happen at that important intersection of law and politics on Legal AF, and now it's starting to show up in the polls. It's a little bit of a lagging indicator. People were polling too quickly after the 34-count conviction for Donald Trump. Where is the polling data? Why is his support so great? Is his support so great? Not according to at least 3 or 4 major polls that have come out in the last 2 weeks. We are 9 days or so from a major debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, which I presume, just as Joe Biden did amazing during his State of the Union, he will do great here. There's no better debater than Joe Biden, ultimately, especially against Donald Trump. We're only less than a month away from the sentencing of Donald Trump on those 34 counts. And what is it showing about what was razor-thin margins, even in the 2020 election? Donald Trump has to capture every vote he got the last time. Plus, he has to pick up substantially more votes to overcome Joe Biden, the incumbent president's natural electoral advantage and popular vote advantage. Remember, he won the popular vote by over 7 million. Nobody believes that the election was rife with fraud. No thinking human being denies the outcome of the election. So let's take it as an article of faith. Let's take it as an article of truth. Joe Biden won by 7 million votes. Now, when you go state by state, as is required by our way of dealing with the electoral count and the 7 battleground states, Donald Trump doesn't have a vote to lose. He lost all the major battleground states. Even in Wisconsin, where he's out campaigning now, he won by 1 percentage point. What are the polls showing? Well, let's do it this way. It shows that there is at least an 8% leakage, hole in the bucket, of voters who had voted for Donald Trump that will not vote for Donald Trump because of his convictions. And I don't mean that. I mean his criminal convictions. It has seeped into the water table, and it's starting to show up in polling. The majority of Americans believe that Donald Trump committed serious felonies, according to latest polling. Of that majority, 10% are Republicans. 10% of the Republican base believes that Donald Trump was not convicted on a witch hunt with a lawless and reckless prosecution by a biased judge and a biased prosecutor and a biased set of jurors, but that he committed serious felonies. That's why I'm saying it's about an 8 to 10% leakage. And Donald Trump can't afford any leakage. I know you're picturing him now in adult diapers, but what I'm trying to get across is that he had to capture his entire base from last time plus, and he's not getting the plus, or he's getting a leakage of 8 to 10% that's coming out the back of the pail, and therefore he can't win based on these numbers. 1/5 of independents, 20% of independents won't vote for Donald Trump now that he's been convicted. Think about those numbers. Donald Trump needs the lion's share of independent votes. 20% won't vote for him. 1 out of 5. And in Biden, let's give an example of how that's showing up in polling. President Biden had been down in Michigan by 4 points. He's now up in the polls in Michigan. That's almost a 5-point or 6-point swing in polling since the convictions have seeped into the water table. Biden is up in Wisconsin, and Trump only won Wisconsin by 1 point. And the Biden campaign is doing finally what they needed to do, which is to lash Donald Trump and tie him to his criminal convictions like an anvil and throw that anvil over the boat. That's what they have to do. They have to remind people. Joe Biden is doing it now. He has to drop his gloves. Time to drop the gloves, Joe. We know you're grandfather in chief. We know you're moral compass in chief. We know you're adult in chief. We want you to be reelected. But in order to get reelected, you got to drop the gloves. And you got to talk about Donald Trump being what he is, a misogynist, a rapist, not because you're saying it, but because juries have adjudged him to be that. And I believe in this jury system in America as part and a pillar of our democracy. He has to continue to remind the American people in his closing argument. President Biden has to continue to remind the American people in his closing argument that he's running against a convicted felon who's a misogynist and a rapist and a fraudster. And that can't be the America that we all want to live in, to have our country headed by him, to have the restoration of the Trump presidency, which is going to be based on retribution and vendettas and going after political enemies and deporting and or putting in internment camps people who came to this country for freedom. That can't be our America. It's one thing to talk about the criminality of a president like Nixon. It's another thing, again, to vote a criminal into the presidency. I do laundry a lot, but I wasn't a big fan of my old laundry detergent and how it makes my clothes feel and smell. This podcast is sponsored by Laundry Sauce. Laundry Sauce created the world's best-smelling laundry detergent in simple-to-use high-performance pods. Laundry Sauce has transformed the mundane task of doing laundry into a luxurious and exciting experience, so you don't have to dread laundry day anymore. Earlier this week, I just used the Australian sandalwood pods, and my clothes smell amazing. My wife thought I changed my cologne. So what's the secret sauce behind Laundry Sauce? They partnered with one of the top fragrance houses in the world, the same team behind many of your favorite designer scents. From Australian sandalwood to Egyptian rose to cyber pine with Laundry Sauce, laundry day will never smell the same again. Plus, they stripped away all the unnecessary ingredients and artificial dyes and maximized the hard-working, science-backed stain fighters and enzymes to ensure your favorite clothes come out looking brand new. Check out the reviews on their site. They are some of the funniest, most authentic reviews you'll ever read. Laundry Sauce was started back in 2021 by a team who were bored by the mundane scents in the detergent aisle, so they decided to make a product that was conscious, relevant, and innovative. And it's not just pods. Laundry Sauce makes scent boosters, dryer sheets, dryer balls, fabric softeners, and even candles too. Plus, if you aren't happy, send back Laundry Sauce for a full refund. No questions asked. Elevate your laundry with Laundry Sauce. Now is the time to experience Laundry Sauce. Head to laundrysauce.com/legalaf and use promo code LegalAF at checkout for 15% off. That's the best offer you'll find, but you must use my code LegalAF for 15% off your order. One last time, that's laundrysauce.com/LegalAF, promo code LegalAF for 15% off. Wake up, America. Stop falling for these deep fake, or what does Donald Trump call them? Cheap fake AI, cut and pastes of Joe Biden on a stage and acting like, he's freezing. He's freezing again. He's not freezing. It is an edit that has been made to the video to make you think that. Joe Biden wasn't frozen on the stage and led off by Barack Obama. He was staring just like the guy behind him was staring at the audience and making a connection, and they needed to wrap it up. And so, listen, Obama's always wrapping things up. He's yelling for Clinton to get on Air Force One. Come on, Bill. Come on, Bill. Obama's always impatient. Right? So that was just impatient Obama. Remember, he's to us, it's President Joe Biden. To Barack Obama, it's my vice president. Come on, Joe. So that's all that was. And when he looked off when he was doing the G7 summit, he was looking at a parachutist who was packing his parachute. If you had a wider lens, you'd see what he was looking at. Instead of acting like, oh, he's staring off into space again. It was embarrassing. Maloney from Italy had to take him by the hand. Ridiculous. Ignore all of this. You will see Joe Biden. You will see the person that is responsible for our domestic policy successes, our investment successes, our investment in the American people's successes, and yes, our foreign policy ultimate successes in a way that's being managed through the Secretary of State and the Department of Defense. And you will see that on the stage during your debate. And you can make your choice. If you thought, well, I don't know, he doesn't give a lot of speeches, he doesn't give a lot of press conferences, you'll see him, in the debate. Just like you saw him at the State of the Union, just like you saw him when he gives his lectures. And by contrast, Donald Trump's convictions, which is what I started the hot take with, are showing up in polling. Now, look, I've always said the only poll that matters is Election Day, and when you're at the polls. The rest of this polling is sort of, there's that old line, I think it's Mark Twain. There's 3 types of lies. There's lies, there's damn lies, and then they usually put in their statistics. And I'll say there's polling statistics. And I get that. But sometimes they're right. And what they catch are these micro movements of sentiment. We've always known that people consistently report in their polling that if Donald Trump was convicted of a crime, it would change their outlook of him and their willingness to vote for him. And now we're saying it. 8 to 10% leakage, at least 20% of independents who won't vote for him. What was once close races in the battleground states starting to turn back towards the incumbent, the president, and the power of the incumbency on a successful record. And we'll continue to follow it because it's important. And this is where that intersection of law and politics, we have to go into it in great detail. We do it on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Legal AF, where we sit at that intersection. And now we're seeing it from how the legal system has impacted the politics in real time. We report generally on the legal part, but we sit at that intersection of law and politics for a reason, because it would be boring if we just did the politics part. It would be boring if we just did the law part. We got to do both. And that's why this polling sort of pulls it all together about everything we've been talking about for the last 4 years on Legal AF, our podcast on Wednesdays and Saturdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on this MeidasTouch YouTube channel. You knew that. You're already here. Free subscribe. Help them get to 3 million free subscribers. I don't know if you've heard, but we don't have outside investors. We don't. Nothing influences my content, Ben's content, Karen's content, any of the contributors' content. We don't have an editor. Right? We speak the truth from our perspective, no smoke or sunshine. That's we do it right here. And if you like what I'm doing, leave me a note, comment, thumbs up, and find all my work on the MeidasTouch YouTube channel exclusively. Look under Michael Popok under contributors and playlists, and then you can pick up our podcast also. If you're an audio podcast person, pick it up from every major every major audio podcast platform. That was a mouthful. Under Legal AF. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting. Heary, Legal AF Law Breakdown is now in session. Go beyond the headlines and get a deep dive into the important legal concepts you need to know, and we discuss every day on Legal AF. Exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, all for the price of a couple of cups of coffee. Join us at patreon.com/legalaf. That's patreon.com/legalaf.